Hello.
Hello. Thanks for being here.
No worries. Good to be here.
Yeah. I was wondering, we are not, at that moment, we are not working under the best circumstances. I can imagine that it's not the first time in your life that you have to conquer a situation in the best circumstances. I think in your life there has been many circumstances where you had to make the best out of what's in the moment.
Yeah, one of the philosophies I have is you do the best with what you got. And in fact, you never have everything you want. We're always short of things, and you do the best with what you got.
Yeah, and I remember that more or less 1 year ago, a bit more than that, you were in a very, very bad situation, maybe. That's my interpretation. You were in jail.
Yeah, I spent 5 months in Japanese prison. So I was part of a Seashepherd campaign in Antarctica, and effectively my boat got rammed and sunk by the Heidemann No. 2, which was a Japanese security vessel. And a month later, I boarded the Heidemann No. 2 off a jet ski in the middle of the night and presented them a bill for $3 million to replace the boat. And they took me back to Japan, and I was arrested and charged with 5 different offences. But you know, I'm okay with it. The prison and the court hearings and that, it did become a big media story, and especially in Japan, where we do struggle getting a message out there about this whaling and how offensive it is to us. So that was the good thing that came out of the incarceration in Japan, was for the first time the Japanese started to hear how offensive whaling is, and especially to New Zealanders and Australians. You know, this whaling, it's our backyard, and I don't believe the Japanese have a right to go down to Antarctica, sneak past us and go and do whaling. So look, prison wasn't the nicest place I've ever been, but it served a purpose.
Yeah. What made you go in the middle of the night in a very dangerous mission, enter, or how you call this, that boat, this vessel? Was it emotion? Was it loyalty? Was it...
When we went to Antarctica, I had 6 crew on the Gill, and one was a cameraman, but of the other 5, all of them knew about a mission to get one of my crew aboard one of the Japanese whaling vessels and to go back to Japan and do some prison time. That was always one of the goals of the Gill crew, and all my crew were prepared to do it. The fact that my boat was rammed and sunk then kind of freed me up to also be in a position to do it. Up until then, my job was to skipper that boat and get it back to Australia. Given the fact that I don't have a boat anymore, it meant that I had the opportunity, if you like, to go and carry out that mission. To board the boat in the day, tried it several times, and it's pretty tough. Like the security vessels, they are well protected. They've got anti-boarding spikes around them. You try and board the boat on a rib, and it will puncture your boat. They use impulse guns that have like pepper spray in them, so they shoot you with these riot control guns. They've got nets all of the way around, and they've also got like bamboo poles to smack you. So to board one of those boats during the day is nearly impossible. You need to do it when they don't know you're there. So in the end, the only option for us came to do it at night. And it was risky in the sense that it was a high chance of failure. But in terms of me drowning or suffering permanent injury or something like that, was less likely. It was a well thought out mission, and I had good gear and a good team on that.
Yeah. When you compare your time, let me say 1 year ago, you were still with the Sea Shepherds. Things have changed. When you compare your time there in Sea Shepherd, now we are 1 year further. What has changed in your life? I call this what has changed your life, and how's your position now when you look back? What has changed? And
I spent a lot of time in prison thinking about what I wanted to do when I got out. And prison has a way of focusing your mind. When you're looking at potentially a long lag, like when I first got to Japan, the prosecutors were saying 10 years was what they were going to ask for. And it has a way of really making you consider, what do I want to achieve in my life or in the next period of time. And so I started to think about marine conservation is what I do. That's in my blood now. And I started to to think about different missions we could do under the Seashepherd umbrella. But then Seashepherd decided I wasn't really the sort of person they wanted in the organisation, and we parted company. And so pretty much it has freed me to go and pursue those marine conservation goals, if you like, under my own organisation or a sort of new team. I did feel in Seashepherd you're boxed in terms of what you can do. It's a large organisation, large funding base, a large support base, but with that comes a lot of restrictions on what you can and can't do. When you've got a new small organisation, you can kind of go and do your own thing and make your own decisions and just go and do it. So it has freed me up to do those.
Yeah. And did you find support to set up your own organisation?
I've had good support to set it up. It's not easy to start a new organisation from scratch, if you like, but yeah, I've had good support. Yeah, a lot of people coming in to help us out.
Yeah. And did you recently start to set up your own organisation?
I started to set up my own organisation probably about 6 months ago, and you know, there's a danger you try and grow it too fast. We set up a few chapters here and there, and the organisation, I kind of see two goals. One is to have local chapters that look after marine conservation issues in their area, but then also the larger organisation as a whole to have some sort of large flagship campaigns where we can add some value. So two kind of jobs we do. One is small local campaigns, grassroots organisation taking ownership of their area, but then also these bigger campaigns where we draw on resource from the entire group perhaps.
Mm-hmm. What are your main issues at the moment where you want to put your attention on, and what place in this whole has whaling or anti-whaling?
The areas that I want to concentrate on is more in the underdeveloped and the developing economies where they have these valuable fishery resources but they don't manage them at all. And so to give you an example, in Venezuela they've got something like 10,000 fishermen along this coastline, all basically small nets, hand lines, artisanal fishermen who eke out a livelihood. They're getting hammered by foreign trawlers, mostly Colombian and Panamanian. These trawlers come in and clean out the waters, and the local fishermen are being displaced and their livelihoods effectively stolen from them. And so there's an opportunity for us to come in there to try and catch some of these foreign poachers, to embarrass the government and make the government take ownership of their fishery resource. The Venezuelan fishery is one of the richest in the world, but as a result of that, it attracts in illegal poachers who shouldn't be there. And so I see a role for us to come in to take on these fishermen that are aggressive, like these foreign trawlers. A lot of them are armed, and when they're making big money, they don't give that up easily. But at the moment, there's really no organisation that I know of that addresses these issues. And there's many places like Venezuela, quite a few in Africa as well. Same kind of thing where you've got a government that ignores their fishery, and they will pay a heavy price if they continue doing that. And our job is to make them aware, hey, you guys have this valuable resource, you've got all of these people whose livelihoods depend on these fisheries, you ignore them at your peril.
Yeah, and what part in this whole has anti-whaling?
Whaling for me is one of the marine conservation issues. It's not the only focus of my organisation, but you know, it is. We do have it under consideration, if you like.
Yeah.
And we will be going to the Faroes and running a campaign there for a period of time. In the future, it's quite possible we might look to run a campaign against the Norwegian whaling fleet, maybe the Icelandic whaling fleet, and you know, who knows, maybe even Japan again. But you know, whaling is just one marine conservation issue. It's almost at the moment, you know, whale wars has woken people up to marine conservation and especially to anti-whaling, but it's just one of many issues that needs addressing, and in some ways it's taken a large funding base, and I think we need people to understand it's just one issue. There's so many other areas of marine conservation that need to be addressed as well.
Yeah, and what areas are you talking about, for example?
Shark finning, illegal trawling, illegal long lining, net size. You know, at the moment, many places they're down to 1-inch nets, where you've got effectively the net size is 1 inch square. Earlier, many years ago, there was a 4-inch limit. So by bringing it down to 1 inch, the nets have become cheap, made of nylon. You can buy them for nothing, but they wreak havoc on the fishery. They take all of the small fish now. It's like manta ray. We were just in Mozambique a couple of weeks ago, and Mozambique promotes itself as the manta ray capital of the world, and they do have the largest single population of manta ray, and yet locals are spearing them, cutting off the fins and selling the fins to China. You can't call yourself the manta ray capital of the world and be finning them in the same instance. Similarly, they've been killing whale shark and cutting the fins off and selling those to Chinese interests. It's a disgrace. The largest whale shark population in the world, and it's under threat because you've got, wankers in China eating shark fin soup made of whale shark. It's a disgrace. Yeah. And Mozambique needs to take ownership of this, but at the moment, the government just ignores it.
How do you see yourself in your own organization? Are you more a person who's organizing, or are you more the doer, let me say, who's doing the...
My job in Earthrace is to lead this team and to give people a vision that this is where we want to go, and to lead from the front. So if there's a campaign happening, my job is to go and lead that campaign and to take people on this journey where we can make a difference. I'm poor at many things. I'm actually not a good organiser. I've got relatively low attention to detail, but I've got some other skills that do allow me to achieve stuff if I've got other people in the team who make up for the skills I learn.
Yeah. What are your best skills?
Good leader of people. My best skills, I'm a good leader of people. I'm good on ideas, and I've got a high threshold for what people might see as risk.
Yeah.
I don't mind taking on risk if I understand it, and I figure I can work my way around it.
Yeah, and are you looking for people at the moment to help you or to support you?
Yeah, you're always looking for people to help your organisation. You never quite have the skill set that you're looking for, so you're always looking for good people. And with it being a new organisation, you have many people come in, and then there's a few fall by the wayside who don't quite fit the culture that's developing in your organisation. And so part of our job is to get these right people who fit the organisation, and those who don't, they can go off and join other organisations or do other things, and gradually you build up a solid team that can achieve something hopefully amazing.
Yeah. How do you find your people?
Normally I find people, it's more like they find me. A lot over Facebook. Facebook is a huge resource that I use it every day. If I need something, I just post and say, hey, I need some night vision goggles, or I need a Zodiac or whatever. I need people to come in and help with this mission in Namibia, and people will come. Yeah. Facebook, amazingly valuable tool for someone like me who's needing to tap into people every day. Yeah, I couldn't do what I do without it, I don't think.
Yeah, and are you still answering your own all the posts in the Facebook, or do you have someone else who's doing that for you?
I answer all my posts. I have a couple of people who keep an eye on the wall. Like some days there might be a couple of days where I can't check the wall at all. So I've got a couple of people who it's more about blocking people who might be putting up stuff that's inappropriate or that's really anti people. I don't like having nonsense all over my wall. So I've got a couple of people who monitor it, but in terms of what is posted by me, that is always me who posts it. I won't have someone else pretending they're me and posting on my behalf. That's just dishonest.
Yeah, but I can imagine it takes a lot of time every day.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time to maintain your Facebook, but it's a valuable resource to me as well, so I need to give it the right amount of attention. Otherwise it's less effective as a resource for me.
Yeah, I have the idea that because I'm also following you more or less on the Facebook, that people really love you because you are a man who is close to his people, who speaks to his people from out yourself, and the distance is very low. I think that is one of the values you have, that you're really...
Yeah, I haven't really thought about it. I do have a very loyal group of supporters. You know, you're lucky to have loyalty in your team. And loyalty it cuts both ways. You know, if you look at the teams I've had in the past, they've always been extremely loyal to me. But it's two-way. You know, I've got to show loyalty to my team as well. And if some 10-year-old girl has taken the time to send me a message on Facebook, there's an obligation that I should go replying to that. And, you know, in a couple of years' time, she'll probably be a member of Earthrace. And then in 10 years' time, she'll probably be helping me on a campaign in Ecuador or something like that. So it's, in some ways, you know, I do like the interaction with people. And they value that. They value the fact that, hey, this guy off Whale Wars, he answered my thing within a day. And I think it was him that actually answered it. And I think that helps to engender loyalty in people.
Yeah.
People also respect, they respect people who lead from the front. And I think they see that in me, that, you know, I'm not asking people to do things that I'm not prepared to do myself. You know, I'm asking people to do things that I would do. And you know, people will follow you into some difficult situations when you've got a leader that they maybe have loyalty to.
Mm-hmm. What I see is that I think you have also a focus on children, kids, to maybe educate them or give them an example.
Yeah, with the kids program, I sort of see an organisation to be successful, you need to have some diversity in it, and part of our job is to educate the masses about marine conservation issues, and kids are an important part of that. And in some ways, kids are an easy target. You know, they are very receptive to conservation messages. You know, kid of 8 or 10 or 12, they soak up these messages, and a lot of them are very keen to follow our story. You know, that episode, boarding the Shonamara in the middle of the night, huge number of kids followed that episode. And for me, I consider it's conservation by stealth. The show was not a conservation show. It was called Whale Wars. There was nothing to do with whaling on that day. It was a guy boarding a boat in the middle of the night off a jet ski. But behind that, there is this message: we're down here to save whales. Conservation by stealth. And kids are very susceptible to that. So part of my job is to tap into these kids and get them to follow us based on, if anything else, the adventures that we have. But hopefully out of that, they also soak up a bit of this message: hey, you know, we just need to start looking after these sharks, or these whales, or these manta rays, or whatever the cause is that we're promoting.
Yeah. And how is it? I can imagine that, or what I see is, first you were with the Seashepherd and you were part of the Seashepherd. Now you're not with them anymore. And I think essential part of this whole thing is that you were entering this the security vessel in the Japanese. You end up in jail, and the whole story make you a little bit of a sort of a hero. And I can imagine that maybe in this year now, a lot of things has changed. Many people have come to know you and want to work with you, and you have a little bit a hero status, I'd say. How does it feel for you? Because I can imagine that this also is a little bit strange, or maybe it does something to you. How does it feel?
I'm lucky that people maybe respect what I did in boarding the security vessel and doing the prison time. There's respect that goes with that, and that's one of the reasons I think there's a number of people are prepared to follow us now on what we're doing on Earthrace. But there's obligations that come with that. You know, the fact that I've got these people, admiring what I did and prepared to follow me now. That's something that shouldn't be abused. And my job is to, if you like, harness these people's energy and commitment and do something constructive with it. I'm lucky to have people who admired what we achieved. And in many respects on that, I was the lucky guy who got to board the Shonamara. It was a really good team effort. That entire campaign was enormously damaging to the Japanese whalers. The whole Seashepherd campaign, I believe, was outstanding. And I was the lucky guy who got a lot of the media, because it was, I was the captain of the boat that got rammed, and then I was the guy that did the prison time. But I was just one of a really successful team, and in many ways the lucky guy who got to go to Japan, free holiday in Japan sort of thing. And I think sometimes it's unfair that I get all the kudos for that. You know, I wasn't the one who stepped up, but the fact was there was many other people involved in that mission, for example, to get me on the Shonamaru. It wasn't just me. There was a great team of people who put that whole mission together, and I was the lucky one at the sharp end of it.
Yeah, I understand that you are traveling a lot, going to the hotspots where, where the things are happening. You feel you have to do something with it.
I've just spent the last 6 weeks travelling around. So we went to Venezuela, Trinidad, Faroe Islands, Mozambique, Namibia and South Africa. And those are all areas that we're looking to run campaigns in later this year. And a lot of my time was spent, basically the recon missions, trying to understand what are the problems or issues that these places have. And often it's different. You get in there and you speak with the local fishermen, you speak with the locals, the politicians, and you start to understand it's a lot different than maybe the sound bites you might hear on a radio show or a little clip on a TV item. The problems when you get locally are often quite different. And so my job is to understand what issues do these places have, and then to figure out, is there a mission here for us where we can add some value? You know, our job as a marine conservation, it's a case of picking what targets are we going to have, and then it's a matter of picking, okay, given that we're going to tackle, let's say, illegal trawling in Mozambique, if that's a target of ours, what are the best tactics where we can add some value there? So you pick your targets and then you pick your tactics.
Yeah, and how do you do that, the targets? I mean, there are so many things you could do something against, but how do you do them?
In picking the targets, it's a case of finding the ones where we add value. And to a degree, that's the places where no one else is doing anything. So, you know, for example, Venezuela and Mozambique, no one's touched those places at all. Their fisheries are being raped. And it's like it's not as though no one cares, but no one does anything about it. So those, in many of our campaigns, it's like we're the only ones. There's others where I look at where maybe there's been some involvement from some organisations before, but when I look at it, it's ineffective, or maybe it hasn't had the desired result. And if I look at that and I think, oh, we could maybe come in and have a go at that and do a good job. So I'm not prepared, I'm quite prepared to run campaigns where there might be other teams who've done work in the past as well. I've got no problem with that, but it's a matter of, you know, saying, can we make a positive contribution here? And, you know, is it worth it?
Mm-hmm. And how do you finance all these trips and actions and whatever?
The finance remains the hardest part of most conservation organisations. So I'm lucky to have a few wealthy guys who contribute to the cause. And then you run it very lean, you get very effective at making the most of the few dollars that you do have. And I've loaned some money recently, like I loaned 50 grand, just to get the organisation going and to get these recon missions done. So, you know, I'm not really too fussed about the money side. You know, I think in the long run the money will take care of itself, and in the short term, you know, if we want this organisation to be successful, we need to get out there and make some stuff happen, and to do that I need some funds. So you do what you got to do.
Yeah, sure, yeah. I can imagine. So maybe I'm not the only person. I guess there are many people who sometimes think, okay, we see Pete Bethune always in the middle of some action, and he's working a lot, and we have a lot of how you call this, respect for what you're doing, and I can imagine that takes a lot of time of your daily life to be busy with all this kind of stuff. But I wonder, who is actually Pete Bethune as a private person? Does he exist, or is he gone?
Yeah, that's a good question. Here's something that happened out of after prison. I'd spent 4 years on the Adigill, always in the presence of at minimum 4 people, normally a lot more. In prison, I spent basically 5 months by myself. I was on communication ban, not allowed to speak to anyone. The only conversation might be, you know, a guard, you know, telling me, oh, there's, you know, your time to go up to exercise yard in Japanese. And what happened after I came out is I'm a lot more comfortable in my own company now. To give you an example, there was a party shortly after I got out of prison called the Bow and Arrow Party at Eddie Gill's place. Halfway through the night, I just didn't want anything to do with people anymore. It's like I'd had enough photos and enough things, and I just went and sat by myself for a while, and then I went to hang out. There was a 14-year-old girl and a 15-year-old brother of hers. I just went and chilled out with them, and we went and played in the swimming pool. It was kind of like everyone wanted a piece of me, and I'd had enough of it. So I think now, like, I've got a little bit more of my own time where I just want to go and chill out and think about things. Previously, I never had that side to me. I think if you want to know how I think, read my book, Whale Warrior. You know, I bared my soul in that book. If you read that book, you really get to know how I think, why I do things.
Yeah. Oh, something happened.
You forgot what you're going to say now, haven't you?
Yeah. Really. I'm empty in my head now. Something happened. I was really into it, and now it's gone. Damn, help me.
So your last question was, who's the real Pete Bethune?
Mm-hmm.
But where that was going, I don't know.
Yes. Well,
I'll tell you actually, the real Pete Bethune, a lot of people think there's something special about me, and there's not. You know, I think we all have something amazing in us, all of us, but mostly it lies latent. And we go through life and we work 9 to 5, and we kind of do our best to get our way through life, and yet we all do have something extraordinary in us, and often it's the lack of opportunity and the lack of initiative to get out there and make something happen. And I've been the very lucky recipient of a couple of amazing teams. You don't achieve extraordinary stuff alone. You know, it's always by being part of a team. And we all have it in us. You know, in many respects I'm quite ordinary. Wasn't very good at school. You know, I studied a little bit, but had to work really hard at it. I'm not a clever person by any stretch. But I'm very aware the few skills that I do have, I understand those, and I know how to use those in a positive way. And I'm very good at bringing people around me to complement the skill sets that I have. And mate, we all have it in us. There's nothing special about Pete Bethune.
Yeah, well, sometimes I think, what does us make doing these things? You know, what does us make going? Why are we doing this? Sometimes I think maybe it's all just about love, maybe, I don't know. But there must be something that gives you the drive to do all this.
I guess what happened with me was marine conservation got in my blood. I spent 4 years on this amazing boat called Earthrace, crossed almost every ocean on Earth, and every day we were seeing poachers, people doing activities that are destroying the marine environment, and it eats away at you. And you see that for 4 years, and you start to wake up, and you think, man, I should do something about this. very often we feel kind of powerless to do anything. But at the end of those 4 years, I had this very cool boat, and I had a skill set that had been honed, if you like, from 4 years and taking this boat around the world. And so I thought, right, I'll stand up and do something about it. And that was what I did in going to Antarctica. I just made a stand, like everyone else on those boats, the Steve Irwin, the Bob Barker and the Addie Gill. We were just people making a stand. You see things getting fucked up enough, and eventually it gets to a stage where you got to do something. Many people go through life never getting to that stage, but thankfully some of us do.
Yeah, that's right. Sometimes I think, where do you get all the energy from? Because I have the idea that wherever you come, people want something from you. They ask you things, you're all answering all their questions. You're here now with me. We're having this interview. I think, whoa, we went to bed very late yesterday, and now we're here again. We're talking. We're having this interview. Where did you get all this energy from? And is it still okay for you to do that?
This is my job. My job is to lead this team, and my job is to communicate people and to make people understand why our oceans and seas and rivers need preserving. And so the fact that I talked to you for an hour today, there will be some good comes from this. I don't know, there might be 10 people who see the video, or there might be 10,000, I don't know, but it probably will help the cause. In some ways I'm using you. I give you an hour of my time, but you're going to go away and edit this for 5 hours and piece it together and upload it, and so we're kind of using each other here.
Yeah.
In some ways, I use people. I've got my agenda. My goal is marine conservation. What's the best way I can do that? If I work alone, pretty limited what I can achieve.
Yeah.
So as you start partnering with other people who have good skill sets, then there's this sort of amplification of result, and the sum of those parts is nothing like the end result, which can be massive. And if you say the boarding of the Shonan Mara at night and doing 5 months prison, if you just look at that in itself, hey, you got on a boat without permission, you did a little bit of prison time in Japan, you could say that's not so much. But you look at the media that got generated just around those little things, the end result was extraordinary in terms of the anti-whaling movement. It really hurt the Japanese whaling industry. The end result can be amazing, but you need to be clever with it. And my job is to understand, I've got these skill sets, what's the best way I can use these, and what are the other people that I can use at the same time.
Yeah. About the book Whale Warrior, did you really write the whole book yourself?
Yeah, I did write the book myself.
It's really your own words?
Yeah, most people, the people who know me and who have read it, they say, look, it's like sitting here speaking with you to read that book. I'm no literary genius, like there's not many big words in it, but it's a good story. It was an amazing year from, it was just after we set the record for a powerboat to go around the globe. I kind of take it from then until I arrived back in New Zealand. And it is an amazing story, and, it's easier to write a good book when you've got an amazing story,
Yeah.
I'd hate to have to write a book about, a washing machine or something. It's not going to be that exciting, but, we had a most amazing adventure in Antarctica, and then, prison and that was a very soul-searching time, and that makes a good book, I think.
Yeah, and when did you write the book?
Most of the book I wrote in prison, so I wasn't allowed a computer, but I was allowed a pen and paper from between 9 till 5 during the day. So most days I wrote it. When I got out of prison, the book was pretty much all written in longhand, except for the final chapter of getting out.
So, wow, that's interesting that you were writing it in prison.
Not much else to do, mate. Prison, when you're on max security in Japan, you can't talk to anyone. You're in your own cell 23 hours a day. All I did was to occupy my time. I had 2 books a week I was allowed to read, And so, you know, how I got all the spare time, I might as well write a book. I might as well do something with my time. I was conscious in prison that I was achieving things in terms of the impact on Japanese whaling and the media spotlight that was on me. But on a day-to-day basis, it was like I've done nothing. All I've done is press-ups and 500 sit-ups. That is all I achieved today. And so the book for me became, you know, I want to do something today that is constructive. And writing a book was part of it.
So I can imagine that really maybe your whole soul is in that book.
Yeah.
Because you wrote it in prison. In prison, that must have been a very intensive time for you.
The first 2/3 of the book is a lot more action, and these are the facts of what happened. The last third is a lot more of my soul. And when I got out of prison, I reread the manuscript. And I kind of thought I'd put too much in there. When you write a book and you really tell people that you are scared, you think people are going to laugh at you, or they will laugh at what you really, really think about things. And I thought about rewriting it, and I sat on it for 4 days, wondering, am I going to rewrite this? And in the end, I said, fuck it, I'm just going to hand it in. And when I look at it now, it's probably the section I'm proudest of. It's a good section.
Yeah. Well, I must say I haven't read it until now. I started recently reading it. I think I'm on page 5 or something.
Page 5 is probably the contents.
Yes, right. No, I mean, I read one of the first part, but I think when I will read it now, continue reading, then it will have a very different meaning to me now. And
the book does embody my thoughts about many areas of conservation. You know, it's not, you know, I care about many other areas other than just marine conservation, but it's the fact that very few people work on the marine side of things is why I'm there. But I look at New Zealand, and you know, our government wants us to double our population, and you know, they want to go building new houses everywhere, new developments. You know, I care deeply about that stuff, and so the book fleshes out a lot of my thoughts in terms of where we are screwing up on the planet. A lot of it to do with resource. We're just busy, you know, sucking everything out of the ground so that we can all have plasma screens and new stereos and new video cameras and flash cars, and you know, we're effectively stealing from future generations. And so the book espouses those thoughts of mine, not just about marine conservation, but about, you know, how toxic we are on this planet. And probably if I write another book in another couple of years, those views might have changed a little bit more. You know, I think as conservationists, you know, we're always kind of evolving and changing our thoughts. And as things become mainstream or acceptable, you know, where our target is moving. You know, I think we are making inroads on conservation at the moment. And our job as activists or conservationists is to keep moving that target so that we never get to where we'll never get to where we should be. But our goal is to keep moving us in the right direction.
Yeah.
To keep hassling those governments and the corporates and individuals who do their best to stuff the planet.
Yeah.
They don't do their best to stuff the planet, they do their best to make money, as a general rule. And often it's the individual isn't a big contributor, but you take it as a whole, and we are gradually destroying this planet. It's as a collective that we are toxic on the globe. Time we started sorting it out.
Yeah, does it affect you? And does it make you feel lonely sometimes?
No, I don't think I ever feel lonely, but it motivates me that there's all this shitty stuff happening around the world. It motivates me to do my best to contribute.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm just one of many other eco people around the globe who prepared to stand up for things.
Yeah, I understand that you really also need people around you to help you because you cannot do everything alone. And what would you like to say? Is there something you could say or would like to say to people that are motivated to help you, to put some energy in your organization? Is there something that you would say to them when they are motivated? What can they do, or tell them something, give them a message, or?
The way I look at life is we need to stand up for stuff that we believe is right. And whether people do it through Earthrace or they join another organisation, I don't really mind. It's about standing up for stuff you believe in. And Earthrace is an avenue that people can do that through.
Yeah.
But many people do it alone, many people do it in other organisations. And I support anyone who's prepared to get out there and take a stand on things. Good luck to them, be it under Earthrace or anyone else.
So actually I understand when people have some interest to have more information about you and what you're doing, it's the best way to find you on the Facebook and to follow your steps.
Yeah, the best way to keep tabs on what we're up to and get involved, just go on Facebook, search Earthrace, see if there's a chapter near you, and then connect with those people or connect with me. I'll probably reply.
Yeah, that's something I really appreciate because I can say that from my own experience. I always get an answer.
It's amazing how many people do think I've got others answering my Facebook.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, let me say the way you're answering is very much your own style, so that's why I got the idea that you're really answering your own. But maybe it's like we think that you get huge amounts of mails and questions and things, because when I see your Facebook site, there's always so much happening there. So
yeah, there's a lot of messages, but my replies are often brief. So and a lot of it is a fair chunk of it are kids who they might say, "So Pete, how are you?" And I'll just put all good smiley face. But I haven't got time to. But the fact that I said all good smiley face, and if they do it a couple of times, then I might say, just check the wall, real busy bro, smiley face. And then if it's an issue or it's something that needs addressing, my replies will still be often quite brief. And I use the wall a lot. So if there's a lot of discussion about something, as opposed to answering all of these messages, I'll just go and put it on the wall so that I'm answering to one, but that's answered everyone who also wants to go and check that out.
yeah.
You get better at how you manage things like that. I am lucky that there's between I think there's about 13,000 now between the Facebook and my personal page and my fan page, and that's that's a good number of people that you can tap into. It's a resource that we harness. We're lucky there's all those peeps on there.
Okay, so I think I've got enough of your time now.
Okay. Yeah,
Thanks
nice.
a lot.
Yeah, pleasure, mate. Good. Look at that.